and in Ireland, anywhere else in the world per square mile. It's because of this energy plexus, which they knew about, and people like the Druids knew about, and all the rest of it. And so this energetic change is there to, and also there are changes going on in the sun, which scientists are finding very strange, like these sunspots are staying in a low state much longer than were expected to. But this energetic change is coming at a time when it's offering us the opportunity to break out of this prison that's been created, this false reality that came after this schism, which is now being corrected. It may not seem like it, but it is being corrected. Now we can, again, we're coming back to things I said earlier, a few minutes or so ago, we can flow with this change and go with it and be at peace with it and take all the wonderful things it gives us as our awareness expands and our lives change. Or we can fight it. We can stand there trying to hold on to the status quo. That's what the Illuminati are trying to do, and this whole construct, trying to hold back from this energetic change. And eventually you're using more and more energy just to hold the status quo, and eventually this energetic change will wash them away, or wash us away, if we don't flow with it, this energetic change, which is changing the way we decode reality. And what it's doing, again, it doesn't seem like it, because as we look at the news, but the news tells a fraction of the story, is that we're in the process of seeing this construct represented by this Neil Haig symbolic image, this construct of the system breaking up and the time loop breaking out. So we then become the beings we were, or humans were, before the schism, where we were in harmony with self, in harmony with each other, and in harmony with all that is. And the schism has been so profound, we find it so difficult to even consider or imagine what that kind of life must be, because of what the schism and the genetic manipulation has done to our perception of reality. So we're at a time to choose. We're at that crossroads. As Voltaire said, so long as people do not care to exercise their freedom, those who wish to tyrannize will do so, for tyrants are active and ardent and will devote themselves in the name of any number of gods, religious and otherwise, to put shackles on sleeping men. The answer to that, wake up. Cease to become sleeping men, women, and children. And to those who say, well, yeah, I'm going to find an excuse why not. Well, if we think this manipulation has reached a rather concerning level, then what are our children and grandchildren going to face? Look them in the eye and say, what were you doing, mummy, daddy, granddad, grandma, when the fascist state came in that controls every area of my life? I was watching a game show, honey. It was ever so good. She was going for the car. Oh, well, I was a policeman. I was helping to introduce it, dear. Oh, I was a man in a dark suit. I didn't know what I was doing, honest. We're going to have some very difficult conversations and diverting our eyes from our children and grandchildren, if they ask that question a few years from now, if we just sit around and do nothing. We have the crossroads. It's between the head, fear, survival, I can do nothing, I'm little me, heart, consciousness, I'm infinite. Consciousness having an experience. And it's a great line in an old 60s song, I think it was, in America. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. It's amazing how you become free when you've got nothing left to lose. Because people have things. You see, these people have lots of things and they have lots of money and all that stuff, but they're not free because they're attached to the things and they fear losing them, so they've lost their ability to be free. And it's really when you've got nothing left to lose, or your perception of nothing left to lose, that's when you become free and you start to express the real you. All the time people can put off challenging authority and put off challenging authority and put off challenging authority until authority is at the door and they've got nothing left to lose, and then nothing left to lose, now I can challenge authority. And you know, we've got great challenges, but those challenges are simply the old construct breaking down so that this real us can come forward. I saw this proverb, just when the caterpillar thought life was over, it became a butterfly. just when you think, I can talk about my own experience. I reached a point in 2007 when I thought what I was doing was all over, and I thought there was nothing more that I could do. I thought, that's it. I've given it my best shot. And just at that point I thought it was all over, things were happening which have made it more incredible than ever I thought it could be. Because just when I thought life was over, my life became a butterfly. And that's the same with all of us, because it was just when I thought life was over and I couldn't go any more, that is when the old construct finally broke down and the new one could come in with great power, and it's transformed my life. So I'm waking up. What can I do now? Well, the greatest thing we can do is to stop making excuses. The mind is brilliant at excuses and providing all the reasons why we should do nothing and why we can justify to ourselves doing nothing, because of course there's nothing I can do. Goes round and round and round. If we don't want to be in this state, then no more excuses. And the greatest thing that humanity can do is get off its bloody knees. We find so many reasons to get on our bloody knees. Thank God I've got arthritis. I can't get down there anymore. What are you doing down there? Your infinite consciousness, all that is, has been, ever will be, having an experience. Oh, no. On our knees to money, on our knees to religion, on our knees to everything. As Martin Luther King said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. One thing we could do, and support young people in doing it, is refuse to join the bloody military. Refuse to join the military. What they said in the 60s, what if they started a war and no one turned up? There can't be any war because it's the silly buggers that fight the wars on behalf of those that call and start the wars but never fight them. As Einstein said, the pioneers of a warless world are the youth who refuse military service. And if the youth refuse military service and older people support them, instead of going, oh no, can't do that, serve your country, then we can bring an end to so much conflict by simply refusing to take part in it. It's funny how soldiers have the courage, physical courage, to go and put their lives at risk, but don't have the moral courage, often, some do, to actually confront authority. They find that much more difficult than going and putting their physical lives at risk. And instead of going on protest marches, the system doesn't mind that. Because what are they doing? Holding a banner up to the bloody done deal projection on the screen. The system doesn't mind protest marches. If they get out of hand, and a lot of agents provocateurs make sure they do, then they've got more excuses to bring in the police state because we've got to keep these marches under control. In many ways, they're like steam whistles, as I call them. They let people let off steam so it doesn't go too far, and then they go home and they feel good about themselves because they've had a protest march, but nothing's bloody changed. We've had protest marches about war and globalization and endless things. Wars go on, globalization gets ever faster. What the system is terrified of is us coming together and ceasing to cooperate with our own enslavement. It's terrified of that. But this is why it works so hard to divide and rule us, so we never come together and cooperate or cease to cooperate in our own enslavement. As Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we come together and support and challenge the injustice of each other, even though that injustice doesn't immediately affect us, then we have a unity where we can make a difference. But when we're saying, oh no, that's his problem, not mine. Oh, that's his problem, not mine. Well, eventually it becomes your problem. If we don't support the injustice of others, eventually the injustice finds you. It's like that guy, Pastor Niemöller in Germany, who said first they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the communists, and I was not a communist.